you guys hear me in the back? Sorry, I'm trying to speak up, but I don't want to go too much. I come from a pretty outgoing church, so I like to walk around and talk. I'm so thankful to be here this morning. When we got the call from Pastor Terry, and he said that we had the opportunity to come and give a message, I was so excited, and I'm very thankful and blessed to be here today. We've been very well received by y'all's church, very warm and welcome, and we really have been just blessed by y'all. So a little bit about me. My name is Ozzy. I'm the student ministries pastor in Dalhart at New Life under Terry Stegall. I brought my beautiful wife, Krissa, so y'all know she's taken. And I brought my mom, Donna, as well. So they've come to join me in bringing this word. So I can remember taking swimming lessons when I was probably in the first or second grade at the YMCA in Sterling, Colorado. And I was terrified of the water. I can remember being a kid and you see Jaws and you see all these other movies, and I was terrified of the water. People go under and they don't come back up. And so I'm this little kid, I'm learning how to swim for the first time. And a couple lessons in, I don't quite know how to swim yet, but I'm feeling really courageous. I'm feeling like a member of SEAL Team 6, because I can close my eyes really hard and plug my nose with both hands, go under the water and come back up, and I'm alive. So I was really excited. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling like $1 million. I'm feeling like Aquaman, maybe. And so I'm there for swimming lessons, and then all of a sudden, y'all are familiar with pools. There's typically like the little end, and then there's like the deep end. Well, I jumped in the deep end. And it took me just a little bit to find out I was in a deep trouble. Today, I'm going to talk about serving Jesus. I feel like sometimes when we think about serving Jesus, we think it's really complex. We get saved. We feel that fire build up inside us. We're like, yeah, I'm ready to take on the entire world. And then we kind of lack direction, and it can be really easy for us to just fizzle out. It's like that little spark, that little flame, and if we don't feed it enough tinder, it doesn't grow. And so it'd be really easy for us to get saved, we get on fire, we feel His Spirit fill us, and we're ready to go out, and we just don't know what to do. We're like a dog chasing a car. We wouldn't know what to do once we caught the tire if we did. Yeah. So what if I told you serving Jesus isn't complex? It isn't dumb. It's very, very simple. All you have to do to serve Jesus is serve others. All you have to do to serve Jesus is serve others. Here's 3 steps to serving Jesus. You need to identify a need in the lives of others. You need to find a way to help them that brings life. And you need to meet that need. You need to take action. We need to have eyes to see the needs of other people around us. Sometimes it's as simple as a person who's trying to open a door and their hands are full. Sometimes it's a man that's begging for change. He's hungry. Sometimes it's a student that needs help with homework, maybe a brother or sister that needs help with homework, or someone that's being bullied. Sometimes it's someone at their wit's end. Being observant and considering the needs of others over the needs of yourself is called servant leading. Servant leading. It's something that Jesus commands us all to do. There are millions of people every day that don't get their needs met, whether it's something as simple as not knowing that God loves them, or whether it's something as complex as slavery, oppression, or a lack of food and water. After we identify the needs of those around us, we need to find out the best way to meet those needs. Someone asking for money for food, maybe we think about giving them money, but maybe the better option is to give them food. Because if you give them money and they use that for something that's self-destructive, we haven't met their need. We haven't helped them at all. We may have actually hurt them. In those moments, we need to not be afraid to ask Jesus to identify the root of the problem, to give us the best solution for it. Sometimes those needs are skin deep. When telling a sinner to quit sinning doesn't address the core issue. It doesn't address the root of what's going on. The reason for that is sin is a symptom of deeper deficiency. We don't sin just to sin. How many of y'all have been 4-year-olds before? Did your parents teach you how to lie? No. Sin is a symptom of a deeper deficiency. It's a pride. It's something that we carry from Adam, from the garden. Sin, it's not something that we do just to sin.
Meeting the core needs of people will make them more receptive to the gospel. I get this image of a rich millionaire who gets saved. He takes a helicopter, he goes to Ethiopia, he lands in the middle of the field, and he says, "Hey, here's some free Bibles," and then he jumps back in the helicopter and flies away. Those people are still hungry. Yeah, they've got a Bible, but they can't eat. That's going to be a tough thing. I'm reminded of Jesus when he feeds the multitudes on the hills. They say, "We don't have enough food for these people. They're hungry," right? The disciples say, "Send them home." They gather up a couple loaves and some fishes. And what happens? The entire multitude is fed. And I think it's only by the ordination of God that each one of those disciples had an extra basket of food just to remind them, I'm capable of much. Spiritual needs are met after physical, mental, and emotional needs. The gospel cannot be received in physical hunger or thirst, mental instability, or emotional despair. And wisdom from above can shine light or give insight on how to meet a person's needs. A little bit of a funny quote here. If you start a man afire, you'll keep him warm for a night. If you set a man on fire, he'll stay warm for the rest of his life. What I mean by that is, if you meet someone's core need for a moment, let's say someone's sleeping outside, it's really cold, you buy them a hotel room, they'll stay warm for a night. But if you can find out what the core issue is through wisdom that God has given you, maybe you can keep him warm for the rest of his life. It's important that we understand that we need to look at the core issue. If you just breeze over the core issue and address the symptoms, you're not really helping. One of the things that I'm reminded about is being moved to tears when you see someone in a predicament. It's just not enough. True compassion leads to action. I'm going to say that again. True compassion leads to action. I'm reminded of how Jesus reacted when he saw the pain of Mary and the other Jews at the news of Lazarus' death. I'm reading out of John 11, verses 32 through 44. When Mary reached the place where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet and said, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who had come along also with her, also weeping, he was deeply moved in spirit and troubled. "Where have you laid him?" he asked. "Come and see, Lord," they replied. Jesus wept. Then the Jews said, "See how he loved him." But some of them said, "Could not he who opened the eyes of a blind man have kept this man from dying?" Jesus, once more deeply moved, came to the tomb. It was a cave with a stone laid across the entrance. "Take away the stone," he said. "But Lord," said Martha, the sister of the dead man, "by this time there's a bad odor, for he has been there 4 days." Then Jesus said, "Did I not tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God?" So they took away the stone. Then Jesus looked up and said, "Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me. But I said this for the benefit of the people standing here, that they might believe that you sent me." When he had said this, Jesus called in a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out!" The dead man came out, his hands and feet wrapped in strips of linen and a cloth around his face. Jesus said to them, "Take off the grave clothes and let him go." Jesus had true compassion for them. He was moved to tears, but it didn't stop there. He was moved to action. In that same way, we are called to step in and help those with other needs. We'll be reading from Matthew chapter 25, verses 35 through 40. "For I was hungry, and you fed me. I was thirsty, and you gave me a drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me into your home. I was naked, and you gave me clothing. I was sick, and you cared for me. I was in prison, and you visited me." Then these righteous ones will reply, "Lord, when did we ever see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink, or a stranger and show you hospitality, or naked and give you clothing? When did we ever see you sick or in prison and visit you?" And the king will say, "I tell you the truth, when you did it to one of the least of these, my brothers and sisters, you were doing them to me." Helping those who cannot help themselves is serving Jesus. We are called to be an extension of Christ to the world around us and to show others God's love. Apathy disarms the gospel. I'm going to say that again. Apathy disarms the gospel. When we're careless about the needs of those around us, we cut off the hands and feet of Jesus. We have received sympathy and true compassion from Christ, and we should feel compelled to share that message by sharing in their suffering. When we don't help those in need, we deliberately disobey Christ's commands. I'm reminded of how he looked at me in my muck and mire, pulled me out. I'm going to take you all back to that swimming pool in Sterling, Colorado. I'm underwater. I can barely reach the bottom. Push off with my legs and get to the surface and get just a gasp of air and water mixed. And I start to tire, and I realize this may be the end of old Ozzy. But then, a neighbor from across the street, Brianne, a girl that I really hadn't cared much for up until this moment, who was the daughter of a pastor, looked in and saw me in the pool and said some of the most encouraging words I've ever heard. Do you need help? Yes, I need help. I'm about to drown. She gathered by the troubled look on my face that I was in a pickle. She reached down off the side of that pool and grabbed my little arm. And I tell you guys, you know, like when you scare a cat and the claws, ding, 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 like the claws come out? That was my fingernails in her arm. Like, I was not letting go. Either she was coming in the pool with me or I was coming out of the pool with her. She dragged me to the edge and I clung there, coughing up mixtures of phlegm and water, and I blurted out, "Thank you." I'm reminded that some of us are in the pool swimming. We're sinking. We don't know what we're going to do. We're overwhelmed by our circumstances. I'm willing to wager that there are some people in this room that have been there before. Maybe you haven't received Christ as your Lord and Savior yet. Or maybe you have, but life is wearing you down. It's dragging you to the bottom. Then there are some of us, we're pretty decent swimmers, but we cling to the edge of the pool. We aren't quite sure that we want to get tangled up in someone who's trying to grasp for air. After all, they may drag us down with them. We're swimming just fine on our own, and we can't be troubled with someone who can't swim. Or maybe you're a lifeguard. You're an excellent swimmer. You're constantly on the watchtower, keeping an observant eye for the needs of those around you. You've been to the bottom of the pool before, and you know how to help someone who's struggling. You find a need in someone's life, and you meet it. My challenge for us here today is not to all be lifeguards. It's to spend a little time extra with the lifeguard that walks on water. If you're sinking, he's the one that can pull you up. If you're hanging out on the edge of the pool, he can train you and show you how to help people around you. You are a lifeguard, he can use you to rescue other people. Let's pray. Lord, I thank you so much for your mission that you've given us to reach out to the world around us. Lord, I pray that as we leave this place, you'd give us eyes and ears to see and hear the needs of people around us. Lord, that you'd help us identify those needs that need to be met, whether they're spiritual, mental, emotional, or physical. And that you would give us insight on how to help in the way that gives life to them. Lord, I pray that we would spend more time with you. Lord, that we would seek you out. Lord, that if we are struggling in the center of that pool, if we're bobbing up and down, just gasping for air, Lord, I pray that you would give us the courage just to ask you for help. Lord, we know that you're faithful to rescue and you're mighty to save. Lord, if we're clinging to the edge of the pool, give us courage. Give us courage to reach out to people in need. Train us and show us how we can help. And Lord, if we're a lifeguard, I pray that you would put people in our path so that we can direct them back to you because you're the one that saves. I thank you for all these things in Jesus' name.